Welcome to the class of aiming to place a bit of light within. I think we always try to do that, find a bit of light to progress in our daily life and perhaps the treatment of oneself. So for the practice today, I have put again a strap near me that is not 100% required today, but could perhaps be useful. If you don't have one, shawls and belts are good. But as I said, don't walk too far just to get it. A block as usual, same as with the blanket. Perhaps these items are required by you, perhaps they're not, and just have things ready as you might like them to be. So we'll begin lying down on the back, and you could choose any very comfortable position. But as you lie down, keep your block close by. We will use that reasonably soon. So when you come to lie down, the block ready by the side of the mat, you can use your blanket or cushion, and even as I'm doing now, giving myself a light neck support, I've just rolled that lower part of my blanket in and place that underneath the neck. And even when you're lying down, you can give it that last little notch. So it should be very supported around the neck. And if you then feel that the shoulders are dropping a little bit further to the ground, you may or may not be right, but at least there could be a sensation of that occurring. With your knees bent or your legs long, absolutely your choice. Let your arms relax for a moment. You could choose to steady your gaze to the ceiling, or you may close your eyes. As you come to lie down, please first of all notice whether you are actually comfortable. I will bend my knees again. The lower back doesn't like the extended legs, and even will choose a constructive rest for now, knees dropping in and feet wide. So I am sharing this because that would be your alternative as well. And as you lie down, steady gaze or eyes closed, begin very lightly to deepen your breathing. Light breath, prana. These are all things that are very subtle in their sensations. So you could potentially think as prana is also energy, life force, your breath. That light is part of that too. As you bring in fresh air, as you're inhaling, you're also bringing a sense of lightness to oneself. And when you're breathing out, you might feel that things you've been holding on are released. So it's up to you whether you see your breath for what it is right now as it flows in and out of your nostrils, or whether you are feeling your breath as the energy and the life force that it also is, or whether you are seeing your breath as the light that you bring into your body, not only to create a sense of lightness, but also to shine a light upon that you can't very obviously see. As you continue your deeper breath, and perhaps have a visual of your breathing right now. Continue the breath as it flows. But bend your knees and place your feet down hip distance. Your feet might be lightly away from the buttocks, and I'd even encourage you not to draw the feet too close to the buttocks. You'll feel that in your knees and the backs of the knees as there's a light compression happening. You might keep the feet just out of that while the back of the knee is closed. For me, it's very gently closed. Now, arms could rest along the sides of the body there. And while you take a breath in, might you tilt the pelvis so the spine flattens, and then breathe out to lift your hips to a comfortable spot. Breathe in and out to roll the spine back down onto the floor. While you breathe in now, tilt the pelvis and lift your hips up. And when you breathe out, lowering your hips back down. Now you tilt while you breathe in and lift your hips up, and they might come gradually a little bit higher. And as you breathe out, the spine rolls down, relaxing the pelvis and the natural curve of the spine. Let's roll up one more time, tilting the pelvis and breathing in to lift the hips. Now I will take my block and place it under about halfway up. Please make sure that when you place your block, that it sits directly underneath the sacrum, so the rest of the spine is hanging off the block rather than being on it. You can also have this block flat, of course. This is just my choice. And if you like the block all the way up and it's comfortable for you, you might be with that. Now, as you land here, try and relax into the form. And again, notice, is this even comfortable for you? Again, today, I might readjust and play with the block flat on the floor. So feel free to apply your adjustments. And then as you take your next breath, lifting your right hand fingertips to the ceiling, and as you breathe out, lowering your right arm behind the head. A breath in to lift the arm back up, pointing fingers to ceiling, and out breath to lower the arm by the side. A breath in to raise the left fingers to the ceiling, and out breath to take the head, the hand behind. A breath in to point fingers to ceiling, and out breath to release the arm down. You might repeat on the right hand side, but also slide your right leg out. On the out breath, the arm might end behind the head, your toes might be pointed. On a breath in, lifting arm, sliding leg in, while you breathe out to release the arm to the side of the body. We'll do that on the left. Breathing in, left arm lifting, leg might start to extend, and while you breathe out, the arm ends behind the head. On the in breath, starting to bend the knee, fingers reaching up, and on the out breath, the foot lands, the arm releases by the side. We'll repeat that one more time. Right side as you breathe in and out, the full extension into pointed fingers and toes. And the breath in to return slowly and completing that on the breath out. Same on the left hand side, breathing in and out to end up pointed and stretchy on that side. A breath in to lift and out to release. Now we'll take a little pause in that next one as you extend through the right side using in and out breath, and then turning your head away from your extended arm and pointing out again into fingers and toes, rolling the head to the center, and once more using a full breath to lift and land again. Breath in as we extend into the left side and the breath out to complete. Your head might turn away from the extended arm as you inhale, and you're finding length pointing in the right as you exhale. Then slowly turning head to center, and with a full breath, releasing the foot down the arm by the side. Now, if all of this felt good, you might repeat that with both. Legs might slide out. If the block is higher, you might need to approach that separately. As you're extending out, when you reach here into a big rainbow bridge, lengthening from fingers to the toes. And then start to bend both of your elbows as you bring the arms back along the sides and perhaps draw your feet up. Maybe you're approaching that separately. As your arms are now by the side, your feet back to a comfortable position, hip distance apart and toes pointing forward. Get a squeeze into your bottom and lift your hips up. If you want to support this, still feel free to keep using your block. Otherwise, could you interlace your hands behind the back, walk your shoulders a little bit under, and begin to actively draw your tailbone up towards the backs of your knees. Holding the bridge more actively, and if that feels good, draw your arms underneath to one side, back to the center and to the other side, and back to the center. Keep your tailbone drawing up towards the backs of the knees, but release the interlace of the hands and ground your palms again. Then breathing out to slowly roll the spine back down onto the floor. Taking your knees then over your chest loosely and one hand on top of each kneecap, the fingers pointing in the direction of your feet. On the inhale, extend your arms so the knees are moving over the hips. And keep your elbows closed while you breathe out to draw the knees into the chest. So a breath in as you're moving the knees away, and a breath out as you draw the knees in. You could also choose to flex the feet while you bring the knees over the hips. That's your in-breath. Then point the feet as you hug the knees towards the chest, elbows along your sides. Continue that for a couple more breaths, flexing the feet and pointing while you draw in. You can then choose to continue or extend flexed feet and fingertips to ceiling as you inhale, and drawing knees and elbows back in, pointing the feet on the exhale. So breathing in to extend to the ceiling and out to draw in. If this feels good, continue like that. If you're in the first version, stay there. Or perhaps even lifting the arms over the head while you push the soles of the feet upwards, and then hugging the knees at the end in as well. Let's repeat, inhaling and exhaling, and one more round. And keep your knees hugged in, and perhaps allow a little rocking here from side to side. And you might even notice that there's still some tightness there as our movements have been almost all very linear. And if you find it's nice to just rock over to the side, do so. Otherwise, you might rock a few times forward and backward. And all of this only to rise to a seated position. I will now grab my block again and use that as my sitting support. I will place the legs for an easy pose, but feel free to choose a different seated position. Easy pose simply means there's one leg in front of the other, but with knee or hip concerns, that might not be your favorite seat or even attainable. So to sit up nice and tall is the most of the focus. As you lift yourself up, place the fingertips upon the shoulders. Take a breath in as you draw the elbows forward and up, and out as you draw them back and down. And feel free to get some movement through the spine as you continue that. So no need to hold yourself stiff here. You could round, you could open and find your own way. Pausing as we reverse the movement, drawing back and up. Inhale, forward and down on the exhale. And perhaps the spine is moving along here too. One more last round. Then take a breath to release the arms, lift them up, and then find an interlace of the hands. As you begin to push the backs of the hands forward, sinking into the back. Lifting the arms up, breathing in, and a side bend to one side. Arms can be long, or you can deliberately bend the elbows. Inhale, lifting up, and exhale, bending to the other side. Breathing in, and if it works, place the hands lightly behind your head, or even keep the interlace. While you breathe in, open your elbows, lift your heart. While you breathe out, draw the elbows together and lean around into your back. On the inhale, open. On the exhale, round and lean into the back. Breathing in to open. And exhale to round. Two more here. Variation of the seated cat-cow pose. When you release your hands in front, please change the interlace. Push the palms of the hands forward and then rise up with the palms facing the ceiling. As you breathe out, bend to one side. Inhale, come to center, and exhale, bending to the other. As you lift back to the center, release your arms gently. If you're with me in the easy pose, just for a brief moment, changing to the uncomfortable version of it, other leg in front. Feel your spine now rising tall, the shoulder blades slightly shrugged back. And leave the shoulders easy, but turn to one side as you land your hands or fingertips down as a support. Breathing in and out. And as you breathe in, let your whole torso center, and exhaling using fingertips to turn to the other side. Again, please breathe in and out. And as you inhale again, coming back into the center. I am able to roll over my ankles today. Perhaps you prefer to swing your feet out towards the side. And we will come into a standing position, and if it's available, come to the short front end of your mat to stand. I will take my blanket now and place it over the mat, and if you like, that is my knee support, you can do the same. While your feet are parallel, you might turn the palms of your hands forward, opening your body to face towards the front. With an in-breath then, could you reach your arms up, lifting your gaze? Draw the energy down as you soften your knees to a forward bend. With the inhale, push fingertips into your shins and straighten your spine forward. With the out breath then, step the right foot far down the mat and perhaps lower your knee to the ground. I will keep my toes tucked under today. You can always use a block underneath the hands if you wish. But I will bring length into the spine and lightness into the fingertips. And then draw the front hip lightly back. And you might find that the hands become even lighter this way, engaging more into the leg. You can choose to stay right here, or you could choose to raise your arms up and take a deep breath. On your out breath, could you bring the hands down on top of the thigh? Another version, so to stay in, or you might use the hands on the thigh and lift your torso up to a standing position. You might even step your back foot a little bit out and ground it down. Why have I stepped it out? So my hip is still facing forward. Front knee might come to a bend. You could draw the feet lightly inwards and find a bit more stability. I'd encourage you now to place your left hand in front of you, palm of the hand facing up. Make a fist with the right hand and stick your thumb up and place that right into the middle of the palm. While your feet are lightly drawing inward, your fist comes down into the palm and the palm comes lightly up into the fist. So you're feeling a sense of energy activation through the feet as well as through your hands. The index finger is pointing up. This is Shivalingam Mudra that we're playing with. The aspect of Shiva, of bringing that light in and allowing to dispel ignorance or darkness. While you might find yourself here tall and strong, take a breath in to extend your front leg and reach your right arm up. The other hand might come into the side of the waist. And as you begin to tilt forward, take the back of this hand to the outside of the leg. Lower your gaze and lengthen your spine forward. Start to push down into the ball of the front foot so that hip stays aligned, and perhaps begin to roll your left shoulder back. As you're turning, you may also choose to extend this left arm for a revolved triangle, but the revolved triangle is already complete, even with your hand in the side of the waist. Softening into the front knee, releasing your hands towards the floor, stepping your feet together at the front end of your mat and bowing your head back down. You may keep your knees soft here and then begin an out breath to slowly uncurl the spine towards standing. Then breathe in to extend the arms back up, maybe opening into a light back bend. On the out breath, let your arms drift to your side and land in a mountain form. Steady gazing. See if you can pace your breathing, and I like to start that with a longer exhalation. On your next inhale, then lifting the arms again, touching the palms, soften your knees, and slowly fold forward and down to your forward bend. You may find a half lift on your in-breath, and then step the left foot far down the mat and maybe landing this knee down onto the floor. Finding your stance here, block is perhaps useful, maybe just rising to the fingertips. And notice when you do nothing that there's quite a bit of weight in the fingertips. As you begin to draw the front hip a little bit back, that weight might become lighter. You might feel a sense of extension, but strength from the floor upwards. And your next choice would be to take a breath in and lift your arms, finding your kneeling lunge. On the out breath, perhaps your hands land on top of the front thigh. You might use that and lift your back a foot. With the back a foot lifted, you might ground the foot a little bit out towards the side, bending into your front knee. Drawing your feet lightly inwards, and perhaps there's a breath in to raise the arms. Now placing the right hand down in front, palm facing up. Making a fist with the left hand and bringing that into the palm, actively sticking the thumb up. While your feet are drawing inwards now, hip distance stand, front knee remains bent. We're bringing the palm of the hand up into the fist and the fist down into the palm of the hand. Finding our stance here, tall and strong like a warrior one, with Shivalingam Mudra to encourage our intentions for the practice today. Bringing a light in, awareness of what that we are experiencing within ourselves. Perhaps finding that sense of purpose in this practice. And as you take your next breath, release your mudra, stretch your left arm up, right hand might slide into the side of the waist. And as you come forward, the outer side of the hand might attach to the outside of the leg. There's length in the spine, your stance doesn't change, but your hips feel balanced. And you might begin to roll the right shoulder back, starting to twist. Keeping your back foot deeply grounded as you do, and there's an option to raise the right arm towards the ceiling. The same as on the other side, the shape is already complete. Let's bend into the front knee, release the hands and step the feet back next to each other for a standing forward bend. Softening back into this forward fold, and then a long slow out breath to round up towards a standing posture. Give the shoulders a little lift, and then a gentle shrug down as you open the palms of the hands towards the front again. So in this standing position, as we are playing with Shiva and that idea of removing our own ignorance and darkness, let's try and find a dancer pose as we lean to the left, bending the right knee. Now, if you know this foot is hard to catch, you may grab the strap as your assistant, but perhaps it's possible to take a hold. And if you don't like the use of the strap for the balance, it is also sufficient just to lift the foot up behind. Let's bring the knees to touch. You might bring in the first 3 fingers with the tip of your thumb and leave your little finger out and extend that arm. You might even keep your gaze right up there, as you could lift the knee behind you or bring the foot or ankle into the hand for our dancer form. Keep your shoulder easy, your heart lifting, and if you're actually dancing, a smile of joy. Releasing your hand, landing your foot, As we shift aside, beginning to bend the left knee and perhaps taking a hold here, touching the knees together, whether you're using a strap, your hand, or a bent knee is up to you. And again, bringing the first 3 fingers in with the tip of the thumb, extending only the little finger, and your arm might reach forward. From there, keep your gaze up, your heart lifted, and maybe the knee rises behind or the foot comes actively into the hand. Keep yourself open. It's like a back bend. Reaching our heart forward, opening and taking it in with a smile, especially if falling out of this balance. Releasing your arm and landing your foot back down. Turn the hands forward once more. Take a deep breath in through the nose and allow a long sigh out. Then taking a breath in to raise the arms again. Touching the palms, soften the knees, and let your hands now slowly come down the midline as you fold forward. A breath in, potentially a half lift. A breath out to step both feet far down the mat. I will lower my knees. Feel welcome to use this kneeling plank or a full plank. Let your tailbone draw back in the direction of your heels. Use your hands or fists wisely. Bring space in between the shoulder blades. And when I say wisely, lean away from your wrists. Use your hands fully. And then keep your elbows side to side and slowly land on the front of the body. I will push my blanket a little bit out of the way. And then stacking your hands, resting the forehead onto stacked hands. And your option here is big toes together, heels rolling out, or turning your toes outwards, widening the legs out, and resting to the inside of the ankles. I usually suggest to try both and the same today. Perhaps try big toes together and toes turned out and see which one is yours today. No judgment there, just feeling into it. Then let your forehead come to rest upon your hands. Let your elbows broaden, your shoulders be easy. And very randomly deepening your breathing. You might experience that when you're not focused on where to direct the breath, it will likely find its way into the abdomen simply because your ribs are quite solidly grounded onto the floor. Take a notice how the sensations of this breath feel for you. Perhaps it's a massage of the abdominal area. And some of you might feel compelled to expand the breath out and up into the ribs and find that space on the sides and the back of the rib cage. Stay with that exploration of deep, slow nasal breathing for a couple more. Once you've completed those breaths, you might allow, if your legs aren't, to widen them a bit. Maybe though pointing through the toes and finding a distance of the legs that feels quite comfortable around pelvis and lower back. You could still allow your arms to remain like this, and especially if arm extension isn't yours for whatever reason. Or you might like a softer approach of your back bend. If you find it's possible for you, widen and extend your arms. So the arms are also pointing more in the direction of the corners of the mat than directly forward. Or your arm is bent and you're still resting the forehead onto your hands. Now, while breathing in, lifting just the feet, maybe the legs, as you actively point out through your toes. Legs can be closer if they need to be. On the out breath, relaxing the legs down. Now, you might use your hands to push into and lift your upper body as you breathe in, and then lowering back down while breathing out. Now, you might do both as you press into the hands, lifting the legs, the head and the chest, and perhaps the arms too, whether the hands are floating underneath your head or you're extending perhaps even into both arms off the floor, Superman or Superwoman pose. See if you can hold here for a bit, noticing the engagement in the back body, in your core, throughout arms and legs. One more breath to lift a little more. And then land in the other version of the crocodile. Big toes together, heels rolling out, forehead resting down. And you might allow a little movement here through the pelvis to find comfort. Then slide your hands underneath the shoulders. Take a breath in to come up onto the hands and the knees. And you might bring your knees in a little, and if it's comfortable, even keep them close as you place your buttocks back towards the heels. Take your hands out in front to support the head, or even curl into a full child's pose if that feels right. Try and reclaim this deeper way of breathing. You might find it easier now as the back is already lengthened and stretched out. Child's pose is a resting pose and often used for exactly that. But it's also a forward bend. And to deepen that aspect, now take a breath out and round your spine up. You might use your blanket to support your seat, and you might choose to grab the strap, extending the legs out in front. And if you are choosing to use the strap, open it up and swing the strap around the balls of the feet. Your feet will then naturally come together. If you're not using a strap, keep them apart if you wish. If you're on the strap, draw the knees to a light bend. We'll all pull the toes up towards the ceiling. And if you're holding on, keep your elbows closed. Let the shoulder blades come down your back, so your heart is lightly exposed. And then start to lean forward while you're breathing out. While I will shorten my hold on the strap a fair bit, I will still keep the spine long, shoulder blades slightly down, and the toes pulling upwards actively before very slowly lowering my upper body here too. Why am I using a strap? I'm using it to keep my feet in place. I also find it's easier to come forward with a straight spine when holding on. Is it necessary? No, but it might be a nice helper or assistant to keep your shoulders in check and your heart reaching forward. You might stay with the forward bend, and if you're not using a strap, your hands might be on the floor. They might have reached your feet. You could hold onto the legs somewhere. Few more breaths. From where you might draw yourself halfway out. If it feels better, you may lengthen the legs out, but knees can be bent here. Take both ends of your strap into your left hand. Look at your feet and keep them parallel. You might rise a little as you're extending your right arm back. And you could start and turn all the way behind. Take a note if you're not having a strap that you can have the hand on the outside of the right leg, but that your feet would want to stay in alignment with each other. Take one more breath here. Perhaps it's to lift the arm up and with that the gaze. And with the out breath, changing hands either to the outside of the leg or holding onto both ends of the strap. Look at your feet. Are they still parallel? You might then extend your left arm back and lightly turn. Maybe your gaze is turning too. Notice whether you're creating extra tension in the shoulders, whether your feet are parallel, especially without the strap. And take another deep breath where you might raise your left arm up and then bring the hands back forward, separating your strap, knees soft, and once more returning to Paschimottanasana, the seated forward bend. Now, as you draw yourself back into length, breathe in and let go of the tough hold of the strap, breathing out. I'm still holding onto my strap, and if you've got yours, you might use it as well. We've done that maybe last week, maybe week before, where we used the strap to roll down. Now, I will also make sure that I've got the block here by the side. While I did place my blankets down as a cushion, I will stay away from it for now. And if you like to use the strap to draw yourself onto the back, it also helps to lift the feet up into the air. Now, your first option here is, if you're using the strap, to keep using it, but lower your arms down. And you could keep a gentle hold on either end, simply to keep your legs up into the air for your inversion. If you've got a wall nearby, just like myself, I can turn towards the wall. In that case, I would remove the strap and my feet would be up the wall. If you're lying down without, or even on the wall, feet might step there. You could lift your hips up, place the block back underneath the sacrum, and come to our inversion by lifting the legs up. Maybe a good version if there's no strap within your reach, or if you simply prefer this variation. The legs up the wall pose, you may take it literal. You may have your feet in the strap, then keep the hold, but rest your shoulders. If you've got legs up and don't need your hands, let your arms open out. It might be good to close your eyes or find that steady gazing point upon the ceiling. And once you've found your shape, let all of that finding out what is suitable for you fall away and take in the shape that you have come to. Observing how the breath might be settling. There's a gentle flow of your breath. There might be a light wiggle or movement in your feet. If you have your legs up a wall, bend your knees to your chest. If you've got your feet in the strap, bend your knees to the chest, release the strap. If you've got your hips up on a block, bend your knees too, but place your feet down, then lift your hips and remove the block. You may then take, if you're on your back, your cushion back underneath the head and or the neck. You might allow your feet to be on the ground, your knees to be bent, and your arms might ever so slightly come out towards the side. Perhaps lightly starting to turn the head from side to side, bringing movement back into the neck. Let your head remain restful though as you turn it. There's no weight lifting of the head. A movement solely for your neck. When you're ready in balance left and right, center the head. Let it find its resting point and lightly move your knees from side to side. Notice how that feels. And if it feels good, you may extend the range of this movement. And when you feel in balance and perhaps easier, bring knees into center, arms moderately away from the body, yet out of touch, palms facing up. And if you prefer, your knees bend, step feet wide, and let knees roll inwards for constructive rest. If you have a bolster that can go underneath the knees, some of you might enjoy legs out long and feet rolling out. And perhaps this is also something you try again, noticing how it feels now towards the end of our practice in a physical sense. As you find your resting pose, snuggle your shoulder blades under so the shoulders are softening. Steady gaze or close the eyes. And let your breath settle. Nothing you actively do, but you might choose to observe it. As your breath softens, you might find that it comes out of your control, and allow it to do that, to come back into its natural pattern of breathing. When we try and dispel the ignorance, when we aim to bring light to our being, to acknowledge everything that we experience, you might find things you like about yourself. You might find things that you would like to change. I did draw a card for our practice. It's from the Namaste deck, and it says the blessing of endless possibility. And I think that's also something that we can find when we're bringing light to things. It says further, allow your inner child to be the master for a while, and don't take things too seriously. Have fun and explore the world of endless possibility. Something wonderful is created through imagination and innocence. As you let us sit, perhaps for now, your main focus is the flow of your breath. You can now choose to remain right where you are for our meditation today. However, I will include the Shivalingam Mudra, and if you would like to actually hold the mudra, you might prefer a seated position for the meditation. So if you do choose to turn yourself to sit, do so gently with as little movement as you might need to get to a seated position. You can lean your back against the wall if that provides you with extra support. You could also choose to sit upright in a chair. If you feel this mudra is for you, you can keep your eyes closed and place the left hand in front of you with the palm of this hand facing upward towards your lower abdomen. Then make a fist with the right hand, but point your thumb upward and place that fist into the center of the palm of the left hand. Your elbows would be slightly away from your body. You would have just a gentle connection rather than holding tension. Keeping your spine upright, your elbows a little bit out. The right hand as a fist bringing down into the left palm and the thumb of the right hand pointing upwards. You can also choose to visualize yourself with the mudra if you have chosen to lie down. As usual, when we practice mudras, please feel into the mudra itself. Notice what the energy is like, even if you're visualizing the form. Notice where is the breath flowing when you're holding the mudra or the intention thereof. When we aim to dispel the darkness, when we aim to shine light, we're getting to know ourselves. But we're also aiming for that connection to the universe and the according practice of awareness. Perhaps you already have a spiritual commitment, and that could be to nature, towards a God, towards whatever you feel is your most comfortable practice here. How are you going with your commitment towards this practice? How is that unfolding when daily matters are present? Perhaps as you bring the awareness to this practice, choose your practice as you would like it to be regularly. Perhaps see yourself in the spot where you do practice. And in your mind, making that a priority. A practice that is just for you and fulfills your needs. As you keep breathing, see yourself doing this practice. And notice how lightly your mind is already speaking against it. How old patterns of behavior come up. and deliberately choose you. Choose you as you see yourself practicing connection. Visualize yourself in this new pattern that you are trying to establish. This practice of connection and awareness. You might silently repeat to yourself, with firm commitment to my spiritual journey, I move steadily toward awakening the light. With firm commitment to my spiritual journey, I move steadily toward awakening. With firm commitment to my spiritual journey, I move steadily toward awakening. This awakening might be your gained awareness about patterns, about habits. So while you now release the mudra, open your arms to either side and take a breath. If you're lying down, find your way to join us seated. And let's all join the hands together at the heart. Maybe lightly the thumbs are touching towards the sternum. Perhaps you can even see a light within your heart space. As you breathe out, we will lightly bow and extend our light towards each other. Namaste.